The storm over the capital world arrived with no warning. Metallic clouds churned above the spires of the royal citadel as if stirred by some unseen hand. The air smelled of charged dust and rising fear. The citizens of the alien realm had sensed trouble long before alarms echoed across the sky. In the highest tower of the citadel stood their queen. Her figure was tall and adorned with luminous markings that shimmered like living constellations. For years she had led her people with calm, authority, and quiet strength, yet even she could not mask the concern tightening her features as her advisors relayed grim reports. Invading warship had entered orbit. Its origin was unknown, its intent was hostile, and its weapons were already locked on the city. The Queen's guards formed a protective circle around her. Every one of them carried ceremonial blades and polished armor. They were sworn to protect her with their lives. Yet even someone with no talent for sensing emotion could read the tremor in their hands. A soldier approached the group at a steady pace. He was human. He wore dull armored plates that bore countless scuffs from old battles. His name was Owen, an ordinary name for someone with an extraordinary reputation. Among the alien citizens, he had helped defend smaller colonies before. He had guided merchant fleets through pirate territory. He had earned trust through actions rather than rank. Owen bowed his head respectfully before speaking. He explained that the incoming ship carried energy signatures from a group known for sudden strikes and ruthless tactics. His voice remained calm. He was not a man who raised his tone even in danger. He simply laid out the threat as cleanly as a blade laid across a table. The Queen listened. Her eyes narrowed in focus. She asked her guards for a defensive map of the tower. The guards scrambled to obey. Then the first explosion struck the citadel. The ground shook. A wave of heat washed across the tower windows. Shattered cries echoed from the lower levels. The Queen staggered. Owen caught her arm with a steady grip. He guided her away from the collapsing window and positioned himself between her and the smoke-filled corridor. The guards looked at one another. They had not expected an attack so fast. Another blast rippled through the citadel. The lights flickered. The tower trembled. One of the guards shouted that the invading force had breached the lower halls. Another guard called out that the enemy's numbers were overwhelming. Then, without warning, the protective circle broke. One guard ran for the stairwell. Another followed. The rest hesitated only a moment before fear overtook their oath. Queen watched in disbelief. Her loyal protectors, sworn defenders. They fled. Her heart clenched. She stood alone in the tower hall. Except she was not completely alone. Only one soldier remained. The human Owen stepped forward. He placed himself directly between the Queen and the smoke-filled corridor that led to the enemy. He did not hesitate. He did not speak dramatic promises. He simply drew his weapon and waited for instructions. Queen felt her breath steady for the first time since the alarms began. She asked why he stayed. Owen answered with the same calm tone he used for everything. He said that running would not save anyone in this tower. He said the Queen's safety mattered to the survival of the city. He said he would not leave her. No flourish, no pride, only conviction. The Queen nodded. Something in her posture shifted. Even amid danger, she regained her regal bearing. She ordered Owen to follow her to the inner chamber. It was the most fortified room in the tower and contained their last communication beacon. They reached the chamber moments before the enemy breached the upper hall. Owen sealed the metal door behind them. He tested the reinforcement bars with practiced hands. Then he surveyed the room. 2 narrow windows, a central beacon platform, 4 support pillars. Limited cover. It was not built for combat. The Queen activated the beacon and attempted to contact the defense fleet's static. Answered the invading ship was jamming signals. Owen moved toward the windows and peered into the street. Hundreds of levels below, enemy soldiers were swarming through the city. They moved with chilling coordination. Their armor was pitch black, their movements silent. They left no survivors in their path. The queen observed Owen as he evaluated the situation. She had seen skilled fighters before, yet there was something different in the human's poise. He did not panic. He did not complain. He did not collapse under the weight of fear. He simply adapted. She stepped close and asked if he had a plan. Owen nodded once. He explained that the attackers would locate this chamber soon. They would breach the door with concentrated fire. Their only chance was to repel the first wave and hold until the beacon could break through the jamming. The queen offered to assist. Owen handed her a small shield generator. He told her to stay near the pillar where the generator's field would be strongest. She did as he said. It had been a long time since anyone had spoken to her with such direct clarity. Not disrespectful, not commanding, simply earnest. The first heat blast struck the chamber door. Metal glowed, sparks scattered across the floor. Owen raised his weapon. He stood alone in front of the door. No armor besides what he had worn into countless battles. No reinforcements. No promise of survival. When the door burst inward, the room filled with blinding light. Owen fired. The first enemy soldier fell. Then the second. Then the third. The invaders swung through the opening with cold precision. Owen fought like a force carved. From instinct and experience, he ducked behind a pillar, returned fire, shifted position, used fallen armor as cover. Every motion was deliberate, every breath steady. The queen watched. Her heart pounded, yet not from fear what she saw in the humans. Stance defied every expectation she had been raised with. Her people believed humans were fragile, yet here one stood, facing a dozen armored attackers without flinching. Fight raged. More enemies forced their way toward the chamber. The queen felt the ground tremble as heavy steps approached from the corridor. A larger unit was coming. Owen reloaded. His hands remained steady. He told the queen to keep trying the beacon. She did. She adjusted the frequency. She redirected power. She recited emergency. Code static, static. Then a faint voice, a fleet commander. The jamming was weakening. The queen shouted the coordinates. The commander confirmed reinforcements were inbound. At the same moment, the second wave of enemies charged into the chamber. Owen met them head-on, close range. Now, hand to hand, he struck with precision. He dodged a blade. He drove the attacker backward. He blocked another strike. He refused to yield. Queen could barely breathe. She clutched the edge of the pillar. The shield generator sparked as an energy round grazed the barrier. She called out to warn him. Owen pivoted. The warning saved him. He thanked her. Even in battle, he had the calm to speak. More enemies poured in. Too many. Owen took a defensive stance. He braced himself. He looked over his shoulder toward the queen. There was no fear in his eyes, only a silent message. He would keep her safe, even if it cost him everything. The chamber shook. A deafening roar echoed across the city, and a beam of light split through the sky. Fleet had arrived. Enemy positions faltered. Power to their weapons flickered. Owen surged forward with renewed strength. He pushed them out of the doorway. He held the threshold with stubborn resolve. Minutes passed like hours. Finally, the remaining attackers retreated down the corridor to regroup. Owen sealed the chamber door again and leaned against it. His breaths were heavy but steady. The queen rushed to him. She placed her hand on his arm. Her voice trembled as she asked if he was harmed. Assured her he was fine. He brushed off dust from his armor. He wiped blood from his brow. He stood tall again outside. The tower. The enemy began to withdraw, unable to counter the fleet's arrival. The invaders retreated into the sky and vanished into deep orbit. The queen allowed herself a long breath. She turned to Owen. Her luminous markings glowed softly in the dim chamber. She thanked him not as a ruler, but as someone whose life had been saved by the courage of another. Owen bowed his head and said he only did what duty required. The queen stepped closer. She told him that duty alone could not explain why he stood when every guard fled. She told him that courage came from the heart, not from orders. Her voice softened. She said she would not forget the sight of him standing alone in the doorway as the enemy rushed in. She said no ruler could ask for a protector more steadfast. Owen met her gaze. He did not boast. He did not downplay his actions. He simply nodded. Reinforcement troops finally reached the chamber. When they saw the fallen enemies scattered across the floor, they halted in astonishment. They glanced at the queen, then at the human soldier beside her, spread through the tower, through the city, through the fleet. That the queen had been left alone, that her guards had fled, that only one soldier had stayed her. People gathered in the streets as she descended the tower with Owen at her side. They bowed to her. Then they turned their eyes to the human who walked. With calm steps, whispers rippled through the crowd. Respectful, awed, the queen raised her hand. She addressed her people. She spoke of fear that had shaken the tower. She spoke of chaos in the halls. She spoke of a lone defender who had refused to leave. Her words echoed across the plaza. She declared that the human had protected not just her life, but the heart of the realm. She said her world owed him a debt. Owen shifted uncomfortably at the attention. He preferred silence over praise. Yet the queen smiled softly. She leaned toward him and spoke quietly so only he could hear. She said that from this day onward he would never stand alone in her realm. She meant every word.